I chose my stepson over my own child because I wanted a perfect family. 36 months later, I discovered my husband was only after my inheritance. My stepson is a convict, and my real son legally changed his last name and blocked me from meeting his new wife and baby. My son's wife had a baby 3 weeks ago. A boy. 7 pounds 4 ounces. I know because my sister told me. She saw the announcement on social media. She called me at 6 a.m. and said, "Justine, Spencer had a baby." I said, "What?" She said, "A boy." His wife posted photos. He looks just like Spencer when he was born. I opened my phone. Searched his name. Spencer Whitmore. Not Spencer Hollis. Spencer Whitmore. His father's name. The name of my first husband. The man I divorced. The name my son changed to 2 years ago because carrying mine felt like carrying the person who chose a stranger's child over him. His account is private. I can't see anything. I'm blocked. Not just on social media. On everything. Phone. Email. His wife's accounts. His in-laws' accounts. Every digital door sealed. Every physical address unknown. My son had a baby and I found out from a second-hand phone call at 6 a.m. from a sister who saw it on a screen. I'm a grandmother. And my grandson doesn't know I exist. My name is Justine. I'm 48. And 3 years ago I had a son who loved me, an inheritance that secured my future, and a plan for the perfect family. Today I have none of those things. The inheritance is gone. The perfect family was a performance. The stepson I championed is in a state correctional facility. And the son I pushed aside is raising a baby with a woman I'll never meet in a house I'll never visit. Let me tell you how I dismantled my own life. Piece by piece. Decision by decision. With a smile on my face the entire time. Spencer is 25. My only biological child. His father Byron and I divorced when Spencer was 8. Amicable. Clean. Byron got weekends. I got primary custody. We co-parented without drama. Spencer was a good kid. Quiet. Smart. He liked building things. Model airplanes. Lego sets. Later it was computers. He'd take things apart just to see how they worked. Reassemble them. Improve them. He had patient hands and a patient mind, and I took both for granted because patience doesn't make noise and I was always listening for noise. Byron died when Spencer was 15. Heart attack. Sudden. No warning. One day Spencer had a father and the next day he didn't. I held my son at the funeral while he sobbed into my shoulder and I promised him I would never let him feel alone again. I broke that promise in 14 months. Byron left me money. Life insurance. $320,000. Plus the equity from the house we'd shared which Byron had kept and paid off. Total inheritance after the estate settled, $485,000. I was careful with it at first. Put most of it into accounts. Set aside $40,000 for Spencer's college fund. Kept living within my means. I made $58,000 as an operations supervisor at a distribution center. The inheritance was a safety net. Not a lifestyle change. Then I met Warren. Warren was 41 when I met him. I was 44. Spencer was 16. Warren worked in commercial real estate. Or said he did. He had business cards. A nice watch. A leased SUV. He spoke in confident sentences about deals closing and portfolios expanding and properties under contract. He dressed like money. He smelled like money. He occupied space like money. He also had a son. Tate. 17. 1 year older than Spencer. Tate was loud. Athletic. Big smile. The kind of kid who walked into a room and everyone turned. He played football. He told stories. He laughed with his whole body. He was everything Spencer wasn't. Visible. Performative. Commanding. I was drawn to Warren the way lonely people are drawn to confidence. He filled the silence Byron left behind. He made me feel chosen. He told me I was beautiful. He told me Spencer was a great kid. He told me we could build something real. The four of us. A family. I believed him. Because I wanted to believe him. Because the alternative was a quiet house with a quiet son and a savings account, and no story to tell anyone. Warren and I got serious within 3 months. He moved in at month 6. Tate came with him. 2 new people in a house that had been just me and Spencer for a year and a half. Spencer didn't like Warren. He never said it directly. But I could see it. The way he'd leave the room when Warren entered. The way he'd answer Warren's questions with single words. The way he'd look at me sometimes like he was trying to figure out where his mother went. Spencer hated Tate. Not publicly. Not dramatically. Spencer doesn't do drama. He hated Tate the way quiet people hate loud people. Silently. Completely. Tate took over the living room. Tate played music without headphones. Tate ate Spencer's food from the fridge and said, "My bad, bro." Tate brought friends over without asking. Tate called Spencer, "little man." Spencer was 4 inches taller. I told Spencer to be patient. I said, "They're adjusting too. Give it time." I said, "Warren makes me happy. Tate is going to be your brother. This is our family now." Spencer said, "He's not my brother." I said, "He will be." He said, "Mom, I don't want a new family. I want us." I said, "Spencer, it's not just about what you want." That sentence, "It's not just about what you want," said to a 16-year-old who'd lost his father 14 months ago, whose mother was replacing the family structure faster than he could grieve it. I told my grieving son that his needs weren't the only ones that mattered. And then I kept proving it. Warren proposed at month 10. I said yes. Spencer wasn't at the proposal. He was at a friend's house. I called him and told him. He said, "Okay." The wedding was small. Courthouse. Warren. Me. Tate. Spencer. My sister. Warren's friend named Vernon, who I later learned was the only person Warren still had in his life because everyone else had figured him out before I did. Spencer wore a button-down shirt. He stood next to me. He didn't smile in the photos. Not because he was being difficult. Because there was nothing to smile about and he was 16 and he was the only honest person in that room. The perfect family. That's what I wanted. 4 people. Dinner table. Photo on the wall. A blended family that worked. And I was going to force it into existence whether Spencer cooperated or not. I started choosing Tate. Not consciously at first. But consistently. The way water finds the lowest point. I always found Tate's side. Tate wanted the bigger bedroom. Spencer had the bigger room because it had been his since birth. I asked Spencer to switch. I said, "Tate needs the space for his football equipment." Spencer said, "This is my room. I've had it my whole life." I said, "Spencer, don't make this a thing." He moved to the smaller room. He didn't argue. He packed his things in silence. Took down his father's photo from the wall. Carried it to the smaller room. Hung it on a nail that was already there. I should have cried watching that. A 16-year-old carrying his dead father's photo to a smaller room because his mother gave his bedroom to a stranger's son. I didn't cry. I helped Tate set up his new room. I bought him a new desk. With Spencer's college fund money. Because Warren said Tate needed a proper workspace and the old desk wouldn't fit. $280 desk. From Spencer's college fund. The first withdrawal. Not the last. Tate needed football equipment. $600. Spencer's fund. Tate needed a car. Warren said he'd cover it. Warren didn't cover it. The car cost $4,200 used. Spencer's fund. Tate needed insurance. Spencer's fund. Tate's phone. Spencer's fund. Tate's prom. Spencer's fund. Over 2 years I pulled $18,400 from Spencer's college fund for Tate's expenses. By the time Spencer was 18, the $40,000 fund had $21,600 left. And that's because I stopped pulling from it. Not because I grew a conscience. Because the account sent a statement to Spencer's email. Byron had set it up that way. In Spencer's name. With Spencer as the primary contact. Spencer saw the balance. He saw the withdrawals. He came to me with the statement printed out. He said, "Mom, where did $18,400 go?" I said, "Family expenses." I said, "Warren's been tight lately and Tate needed things." Spencer looked at the statement. He said, "This is my college fund. Dad set this up for me. With his money. For my college. And you spent it on Tate." I said, "Spencer, we're a family. The money goes where it's needed." He said, "It was needed for my education. That's literally what it's for. That's what Dad wanted." I said, "Your father would have wanted us to be a family." Spencer looked at me. And his face did something I'd never seen. It didn't crumble. It didn't rage. It hardened. Like concrete setting. In real time. I watched my son's face turn into something permanent. Something he built in that moment to protect himself from me. He said, "Don't ever tell me what my father would have wanted. You're spending his money on the son of a man who hasn't contributed a dollar to this house in a year." That was true. Warren hadn't contributed financially in over a year. He'd stopped paying his share of bills around month 8 of the marriage. He said deals were in transition. He said commission structures were changing. He said money was coming. It was always coming. It never came. And I was too deep in the performance of the perfect family to look at the numbers. Because looking at the numbers meant looking at Warren. And looking at Warren meant seeing what Spencer already saw. That Warren was a parasite wearing a nice watch. Spencer graduated high school. 18. No party. He walked across the stage. I clapped. Warren clapped. Tate was on his phone. Spencer looked at the audience and his eyes found mine and there was nothing in them. Not anger. Not sadness. Just the concrete. He got into a state university. Engineering. He paid for it with the remaining $21,600 from his fund. Loans for the rest. Scholarships he applied for himself. Work study. He did it alone. He did all of it alone. Because the person who was supposed to help him was furnishing a bedroom for someone else's son. Spencer moved out for college. The day he left, I helped him load the car. 2 suitcases. A box of books. His father's photo wrapped in a towel. That was everything he owned that mattered. Everything else in that house had been redistributed. His room. His desk. His fund. His place at the table. He hugged me in the driveway. He said, "Bye, Mom." Not "I love you." Not "I'll miss you." Bye, Mom. The way you say goodbye to a chapter you've already finished reading. Tate watched from the living room window. Eating cereal. In Spencer's old room's desk chair that I'd moved downstairs. He waved. Spencer didn't wave back. Warren said, "He'll settle in. He just needs space." I nodded. Like I'd been nodding for 2 years. Agreeing with a man who was stealing from me while I was too busy performing to notice. Spencer came home for Thanksgiving freshman year. That was the last time. He sat at the dinner table. Warren at the head. Me next to Warren. Tate across from Spencer. Tate was talking about some girl. Warren was laughing. I was refilling glasses. Spencer ate in silence. After dinner he helped me wash dishes. He said, "Mom, I need to ask you something." I said, "What?" He said, "Do you love me more than this performance?" I said, "What performance?" He said, "This. All of it. The happy family. The matching photos. Warren at the head of the table like he built something. Tate in my bedroom using my desk bought with my money. This. Do you love me more than you love the way this looks?" I should have said yes. I should have dropped the dish and turned around and held my son and said, "Yes. You. Always. Nothing else matters." I said, "Spencer, I wish you would try harder to be part of this family." He put the dish towel on the counter. He said, "That's the answer." He walked to the guest room. The room that used to be his room before I gave it away. He slept in a house where he was a guest. He left the next morning. Didn't say goodbye to Warren or Tate. Hugged me at the door. Short. Tight. The kind of hug that means something is ending but the person isn't ready to say it yet. I didn't hear from him for 6 months after that. He didn't come home for Christmas. Didn't call on my birthday. Didn't respond to texts for weeks at a time. Then he stopped responding entirely. Changed his number? No forwarding. No explanation. Just silence. That was 2.5 years ago. In those 2.5 years everything I built collapsed. Warren. Month 22 of the marriage. I got a call from my financial advisor. She said, "Justine, I need to discuss some concerning activity on your accounts." I said, "What kind of activity?" She said, "There have been multiple transfers from your inheritance accounts to an external account I don't have on file, totaling $114,000 over the last 14 months. My body went cold. She said, "The transfers were authorized with your login credentials. But the pattern is unusual. Small amounts initially. $2,000. $3,500. Then larger. $15,000. $22,000. The most recent was $31,000 3 weeks ago. $114,000. From my inheritance. Byron's money. The money that was supposed to be my safety net. My retirement. My future." I went home. Warren was on the couch. I said, "Warren, who has access to my financial accounts?" His face did a thing. Not panic. Recalculation. The face of a man whose spreadsheet just got discovered. He said, "What do you mean?" I said, $114,000 is missing from my accounts. 14 months of transfers. To an account I've never seen. Who has my login? He said, "Justine, let me explain." I said, explain what? That you stole from me. That you've been draining Byron's inheritance to fund whatever you're actually doing since you clearly don't close real estate deals. He said, they're investments. I've been putting the money into deals that are going to pay off. I was going to tell you when the returns came in. I said, what deals? He couldn't name them. Not one. Not a single property. Not a single contract. Not a single deal that existed outside of the story he'd been telling for 2 years. Warren wasn't in commercial real estate. Warren hadn't closed a deal in 4 years. Warren's entire presentation, the watch, the SUV, the business cards, the confident sentences. All of it was packaging. He was a man who dated women with money and extracted it slowly enough that they didn't notice until the account statements came. I was the third woman. I found out later from his own cousin who contacted me after the divorce. There were 2 before me. Both with inheritances. Both cleaned out. Both too embarrassed to press charges. I pressed charges. Theft by deception. Financial exploitation. The detective said my case was strong because of the documentation trail. Warren's lawyer negotiated. He pleaded to a lesser charge. 18 months probation. Restitution ordered at $114,000. He's paying it at $400 a month. At that rate I'll be 72 when it's paid off. The divorce was final in 3 months. Warren fought for nothing because he had nothing to fight for. The house was a rental. The accounts were in my name. The watch on his wrist was leased. The SUV was returned. The business cards went into the trash. He moved in with Vernon. The only friend. The best man at our courthouse wedding. Vernon called me once after. He said, Justine? I'm sorry. I should have said something. I said, you should have said something 3 women ago. He hung up. $114,000 gone. $18,400 from Spencer's fund. Total damage, $132,400 of Byron's legacy. Money earned by a man who worked overtime at a shipping company for 20 years. Money meant for his son's future and his ex-wife's security. Given to a man whose only real skill was making lonely women feel chosen. $132,400. That's what my perfect family cost. Tate. Let me tell you about Tate. Tate didn't go to college. He worked odd jobs after high school. Then no jobs. Then he started hanging around people Warren used to associate with. Guys with cash and no clear source of income. 7 months after Warren and I separated, Tate was arrested. Breaking and entering. Possession of stolen property. He'd been part of a crew hitting storage units across 3 counties. Thousands of dollars in stolen goods. Power tools. Electronics. A motorcycle. He was 21. Charged as an adult. Prior juvenile record I didn't know about. 2 prior charges Warren never disclosed. Shoplifting at 15. Vandalism at 16. Warren hid both. Tate was convicted. Sentenced to 36 months. State Correctional Facility. The stepson I gave my son's bedroom to. The stepson I bought a desk for with college fund money. The stepson I asked my son to call brother. He's in a correctional facility wearing a jumpsuit. The football equipment is in a storage unit. The car I bought him was impounded. The phone I paid for was evidence in a criminal case. Every dollar I took from Spencer and gave to Tate. Every birthday I prioritized Tate's football schedule over Spencer's quiet needs. Every time I said, Spencer, be patient. Spencer, try harder. Spencer, this is our family now. Every single moment I chose the loud kid over the quiet one because the loud kid felt like the performance of a perfect family and the quiet kid felt like grief I was trying to outrun. I chose wrong. Every time. Without exception. Spencer. My sister found his new social media eventually. Private, but his wife's account had some public posts. Spencer graduated college. Engineering. Top of his department. Got a job at a tech firm. Got promoted. Got promoted again. Bought a condo. Then a house. The quiet kid with patient hands who took things apart to see how they worked was building things professionally now. Bridges. Systems. Infrastructure. Real things that hold real weight. He met a woman named Ivy. My sister said she's a speech therapist. She works with children. She helps kids who struggle to communicate find their voice. The irony of my silent son marrying a woman who helps other people's children speak when his own mother never listened to him is not lost on me. They married. Small ceremony. Outdoor. 30 people. His father's brother was his best man. Not me. Not anyone from my side except my sister who he still talks to occasionally. She showed me one photo. Spencer in a navy suit. Smiling. The real kind. Not the concrete face. The smile of a man who finally built something no one can take from him. I wasn't invited. I didn't know it happened until after. My sister debated telling me. She told me because she said I deserved to know. I'm not sure I deserved anything, but she told me anyway. And now. A baby. A grandson. Born 3 weeks ago. Named Byron. After his father. My ex-husband. The man whose money I let Warren steal and whose college fund I emptied for a convicted thief. The baby is named Byron. And I can't hold him. Can't see him. Can't know him. Because my son decided that the woman who gave his bedroom to Tate and his college money to Warren and his father's legacy to a con artist doesn't get to be part of the next chapter. He's right. I called my sister after the baby announcement. I was crying. I said, I need to see him. She said, Justine. He's not ready. I said, it's been over 2 years. She said, and in those 2 years you married a thief, funded a future convict with your son's inheritance, and chose a stranger's child over your own for 3 straight years. That doesn't heal on your timeline. It heals on his. I said, I lost everything. She said, you didn't lose it. You gave it away. The money. The house. Spencer. You gave all of it away to a man who showed up with a nice watch and a broken son and told you what you wanted to hear. And you believed it because believing it was easier than sitting in a quiet house with your own child and your own grief and doing the actual work of being a mother. I said, that's harsh. She said, it's Tuesday, Justine. On Saturday your grandson turned 3 weeks old. You've never held him. That's not harsh. That's the result. I'm 48. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. My inheritance is functionally gone. My ex-husband's college fund for our son was spent on football equipment and a used car for a kid who's now in prison. The man I married is on probation, paying me back $400 a month for money he stole. My stepson is incarcerated. My son changed his name. My grandson is named after the man whose legacy I destroyed. And somewhere in a house I've never seen, my son is holding a baby named Byron, and being the father I never let him see me be a mother. I chose the performance. The perfect family. The dinner table with 4 chairs. The Christmas card. The photo on the wall. I chose it over the real thing. Over the quiet boy with patient hands who took things apart to see how they worked. He took our family apart. He saw how it worked. He saw that it didn't. And he built a new one. Without me. Warren gave me a watch. A nice one. For our first anniversary. I still have it in a drawer. I looked at it yesterday. The back is engraved. It says, to the beginning of forever. Forever lasted 36 months. The same amount of time Tate got. My son named his baby after his dead father. I named my future after a living con artist. And the quiet boy I told to be patient is the only one who built anything that lasted.